YouTubes. Adam, what's going on, brother? Thank you for joining us today. Long time no see, man.
Long time
Good to
no
see you.
see. Cheers for having me on, mate. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, mate. It's good to see you with the blurred background going on there.
Incognito, bro.
Dude, how long ago did you leave ECA, which was elite at the time?
uh, how long is it? I've been coaching 4 years. I think it was. I think I wasn't coaching for about 6 months or a year before that, so 5 years maybe. I think coming on 5 years from the finish the course.
Yeah, now that I think about it, probably 20, yeah, around about 2018.
I would be
Yeah,
mad, mate. Mad how quick time's going.
pretty memorable course because you were on who else was on your course? Shauna was on your course,
Oh
wasn't
no, yeah, Dave.
yeah, Michael
Uh,
was on your course,
yeah,
Francie was on your
yeah,
course.
yeah, yeah. It was class,
Holy
mate.
shit,
Some
such a
experience.
squad there.
It was
Such a
class.
squad there. Yeah, unreal. Unreal. Adam, for I suppose anyone that doesn't know you, know your background or anything like that, tell us what you done before you came to ECA, where you grew up, and I suppose a wee bit about what your thought process was and what the decisions were for you getting into the fitness industry.
Okay. Right. So I'm 28. Currently a fully online coach at the minute. Coaching is not something that I always wanted to do. Before, like, basically, like, going way, way back through my younger years, I was always a kid who would avoid PE, fucking hide their PE bag under the school stairs,
Right,
didn't play any team sports, didn't exercise. I had fucking the worst lifestyle choices that you could possibly imagine.
right.
Like, I'm basically from a town called Armagh. It's about 40 minutes outside Belfast for anybody that doesn't know. But like growing up, obviously, I had good parents and stuff looking after me, but fell in with the wrong sort of crowds.
Okay.
16 years old, started partying and drinking out in the parks, fucking about as you normally do. But like over years, this just sort of escalated and got a lot worse. And I
Got
was
it.
just drinking and partying all the time, in and out of different jobs for years. Couldn't really hold anything down, to be honest with you. And then sort of had that pressure from society that you have to go to university. So we
Mhm.
went to uni in Birmingham for a year, done computers and ICT, like very quickly realized that it wasn't the fucking thing that I wanted to do because it was too much hard work. And
Right.
then partying and stuff was just, mate, it was just partying flat out. It was drinking way too much. But basically what happened off the back of this is like coming in and out of different jobs for years, working dead end jobs, like factory work, working in fucking egg factories, mate. My ma used to make me strip at the front door when I come home because of the smell of me when I was coming through the door. Like,
Covered
but
covered in feathers and shit.
brutal, absolutely brutal. But yeah, I just worked in and out of loads of dead end jobs, made nothing that I was actually passionate about. And then through like all the partying, falling out of university and stuff, basically got fucking depressed and really bad anxiety and stuff off the back of it. And
Right.
like my way of coping with this was through drinking, partying. Do you know what I mean? And it was short term relief for long term pain sort of thing. And like battled with this for years. And then I think it was like 2021 maybe started training with one of my mates in the gym and shortly realized quickly after it like how good it made me feel mentally as well as physically. It
Yeah.
sort of got me away from the fucking crowds that I was hanging about with and the things that I was doing as well and give me a little bit more purpose. Sort of built my confidence up and self-esteem and stuff as well. And then like because I dropped out of uni, I'd fuck all else going for me. And I was obviously in love with fitness at this point because of how good it made me feel mentally and physically. It's like, right, fuck it, I'm gonna book in for a course and try and do something here. But like before I got a call with you, I actually was supposed to go to Newry Tech and it was only for the level 2 gym instructing course. And I remember the first day I turned up when we were rucksacking all on, fucking buzzing to get stuck into this course, and the fucking course was cancelled. I was like, fuck's sake, I've been looking forward to this
Oh
for like six
God.
months by, and the course was cancelled. I was fuming.
Could have let you know
Uh,
beforehand, for fuck's sake.
fuming, lad. But yeah, I got talking to do you know Stevie Conley?
Yes, I know,
He
Steve.
was chatting to you, I think, a number of years ago, like, but he had
Yes.
recommended the course to me and then got on the call with you and just sort of escalated from there.
Nice, nice, mate. Did you, I suppose, like, you were saying you were drinking and partying and everything else, and people grow up like it's like I think that around about 90% of the population probably goes through a period of that, especially if you go to uni as well. That it's just kind of the dumb thing, I suppose, when you go to uni. Didn't actually know you went to Birmingham either. Did you maintain some of the relationships that you had from that time, or have they since gone? Because we get a lot of people. You were 20, just for clarification. You were 20 or 21. It wasn't 2021 when you get into fitness. So you were 20 or 21, and then you started training. So did you see some of those relationships, you just part ways with them? Because we do get a lot of people come through and they're like, to be honest, I just don't want to be drinking anymore. I want to get the most out of life. I want to leave the fucking potential tank empty. Is that basically what happened? So you let go of some of those relationships and then you started moving into fitness and creating a new environment for yourself?
Pretty much, mate. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't say I've cut ties with everybody. Like, I could count my best friends, mate, in one hand now. Do you know what I mean? Whereas back then, the people that I were hanging about with were more acquaintances than they were actual friends. These were people, like, the way I put it to people now as well, like, these people that I were hanging about with, they were only there if I was drinking or partying. Like, you would never meet them for a coffee, you wouldn't go for a walk, you wouldn't go out for lunch or anything like that. The only time you would ever actually, or I was with these people, was drinking and partying and stuff. And then obviously, like, when I got to the stage where I was like, right, like, my fucking life, it was going down the shitter at that point, mate. I was going down two roads. I was either going to end up dead or in jail, to be honest with you, like, with the route that I was going down. And, like, obviously, I can't blame anybody else for that, because this is what was going on inside my own head. But the environment that I was surrounding myself with definitely had a massive influence on this. And, like, the people I was hanging about with and fucking partying with and stuff at the weekend. So whenever, I think it was actually, like, probably shortly before I'd come onto the course, I'd sort of made the decision as like, right, something needs to fucking change here. So I sort of completely removed myself from that environment. I stopped hanging about with certain types of people, completely removed myself from my actual best friends as well. And, like, it's not that they were having a bad influence on my life. Like, these lads were still having a drink and a bit of crack. They weren't bad people. Some of them were bad people, but the ones who were my friends weren't bad people. They were like, I just had to remove myself from that situation because I was too susceptible to fucking giving into my instincts and looking to party and drink, if that makes sense. Like, over the course of a couple of years, I sort of distanced myself, like, probably lived like a recluse for a very long time, but it was a necessary evil to sort of improve my own mindset. And, like, instead of thinking that I used to always think that I had to be with people all the time, or, like, please other people, if that makes sense. And, like, I couldn't sit on my own because my fucking head would end up running riot. Do you know what I mean? So I always felt like I had to be a part of other people and other groups and stuff. And it's only when I sort of removed myself from that situation that I realized I didn't need that anymore, and I was able to actually focus on my own, like, personal development or self-development, and everything just sort of improved after that.
Nice, mate. Yeah, I think sometimes things like that are just, as you say, a necessary evil. It's just like it was part of growth.
Yeah.
And when you do, I suppose now you're comfortable with who you are, because I suppose at the time you were making a transition, you were trying to do certain things, you were trying to develop, and you just had to detach from the environment that you were in. And then it's like, okay, now today you could probably sit anywhere and it wouldn't influence who you are as a person, because you're comfortable with who you are, and that's a good place to be, man. It's really cool.
100%.
Really cool. So can you remember your first day coming onto the course?
Yeah, mate.
I don't, you'd memories of the first day on another course where you rocked up, they're like, oh, it's not. What was the first day like at ECA?
Prior to getting up to the course, mate, absolutely shit myself, to be honest with you. Driving up the road to Belfast, I can remember it as clear as day. The fucking sweat was dripping off me in the car on the way up the road. But you had told us beforehand that we had to do. Do you remember we had to do you had to, like, introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah.
And you told us that we had to do this before coming on, and, like, at that point in my life, mate, like, I couldn't make eye contact with a shopkeeper going into the shop, never mind talking in front of people. I was shitting myself, but obviously, like, very excited, mate, because I knew after chatting with you and, like, looking into the course and stuff, that it was something that I wanted to do at that point. So it was a bundle of nerves, but obviously extremely excited. But, like, from the minute I walked through the door, like, it was a handshake, calling me by my first name as if you'd know me and as a person as well, and it was just felt to be so welcome and part of, like, a community almost from day one. Do you know what I mean? So it was fucking fantastic.
Nice, mate. Yeah, of course, I remember it was pretty funny. It was a good experience as well.
Yeah.
So at the time, so there was two things actually. these days I don't even pre-warn people about that. I don't even give them the opportunity to feel that
I think
anxiety
that's better.
on the first day, and I'm like, right, you're up.
Yeah.
So I throw people in at the deep end now. And then the other thing was, yeah, so it was still 18 weeks. It's now shortened slightly. It's at 16 weeks now but I remember it was 18 weeks. What was the biggest struggle you faced leaving the course? As in, because I know that you went. I know you're an online coach now, and we'll get into that there slightly later on. But you went straight into working in a gym.
Mhm.
What was the initial struggles? Because there always is, be it your confidence or whatever it is. Like, what was the biggest obstacle that you had to overcome to sort of get the wheels in motion, if we can say that?
I would say definitely confidence, mate, a lot more so than anything else, because like I spent so much time doing the course and stuff, and then coming out the other side of it. I think, like, see, in my head, to be honest, I think I expected to know a lot more coming out the end of it. But like, the course is obviously fucking exceptional, mate, for giving everything that you need to get you started. But you know yourself, the learning only really starts after that, when you do get the face-to-face
Absolutely.
contact and you have your own clients and stuff coming in as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But like, obviously, were to give people a better picture, like whenever I left the course, I was very lucky to get into a gym where I was working for somebody else. So like, I didn't have to start doing sort of sales and fucking lead generation and all that sort of stuff, for the marketing side of things. It was just sort of given to me.
Got it.
You know what I mean? So I had clients sort of pushed onto me, but like for 3 years, I think I was working on that place. It was a really good platform for me, right? Because again, coming after the course, I had no confidence in coaching. I had no confidence in myself. Like, I genuinely thought I was never going to fucking make it or be able to actually do the job in the first place. So it was a good stepping stone for me. And obviously, just putting the fucking reps in, pretty much
Nice.
communicating with people, understanding how to actually talk to people on their level and how to help them, and give me a massive confidence boost. I would say, like, in terms of like struggling for anybody who is about to go out on their own, like, I went out my own last April, and it's probably one of the scariest fucking decisions I've ever made in my life, because I didn't know what way it was going to go. Like, obviously you're on your own at that point. Do you know what I mean? And you're managing your own business. If you're not making money, you're fucked, pretty much.
No more
So I
safety
think it
net.
was fear the unknown, really. And coming up last year anyway would have been the biggest one. Like,
So I'd imagine, I mean, obviously that experience in the gym stands by you. First of all, there's some people that are just suited to the online platforms, or some people that are more suited to in person. I suppose it just depends really on your personality and your certain traits, whatever it is. I suppose that having the in-person experience stands by you now. I usually
massively.
say to people, look, if you can start working in person rather than going straight into online, if you can get some experience, even if it's just a short bit of experience, try to do that, because you'll grasp a lot of things, I would say, a lot faster
Yeah.
than what you would do online. Again, I'm not knocking anyone that chooses to do that. It's just that there are certain things. So I'm guessing that you picked up a lot of things there. And then as well, I would also, because I again, I know you quite a number of years now, and I would also think that you approached it with, how can I add as much value to the gym as possible? Um, and is that the sort of thought process that you moved into it with?
Definitely. Like, see, to be honest with you, like, I talk to a lot of people who have said that they want to become a coach or they want to become a trainer or whatever. I think a lot of people get into it for the wrong reasons. They get into it because they see other people living that lifestyle, or like the online coach lifestyle, where they work from home, they've got flexibility, all that sort of stuff or whatever. And they're getting into it more so for the money than anything else.
Yeah.
But like, my sort of mindset at that point was just, how can I provide as much value to people for free? Do you know what I mean? How can I help as many people as possible? Because I've been in certain situations before in my life, mentally and physically, where I was sort of at rock bottom, and I've overcome that. And like, I know obviously through working with people that I can help them with that. So like, the biggest thing for me was just trying to provide as much value and content and stuff as well, obviously on a daily basis, to help as many people as I could along the way.
Nice. Nice. What was the sort of breakthrough thought in your mind as the, okay, listen, I think now it's time for me to to try this here? Like, was there something that happened? Did someone say something? You know, or did this just like accumulate over time
Was this moving from in the
from
gym
in
to
person to online?
online? I think like online coaching is something that I always wanted to do from the
Okay.
start. Like it was a dream for me pretty much before I even went to the course. Because again, I was looking at other people's lifestyles and I was like, fuck, that's class. He's in
Yeah,
fucking Thailand on a beach doing check-ins, like,
yeah,
do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But
Unreal.
I think it's something that I always wanted to do. And then obviously, like as I said, working on the gym floor, I'm very grateful for that experience working in there because it gave me the confidence, it gave me the social skills and stuff to work with people.
Nice.
But like after a couple of years, I didn't really feel like I was growing anymore in the gym. Do you know what I mean? I felt like I'd sort of got everything that I could possibly get from that environment that I was in at that point. And like I just knew in my head that I had a lot more that I could give to people if I sort of went about it on my own, if that makes sense. So
Yeah,
I think it
totally.
was just a sort of thought process that had been building up over a long period of time. It was something that I always wanted to do anyway, was to go out on my own. But yeah, I think it was just sort of the right time. I sort of got everything that I could get from that position and then just had to move on.
Yeah, I think it's always a natural progression for people. Like some people again are happy and content to get a coaching role somewhere and stay there, or you know, maybe even get a job in a commercial gym and work for themselves within that, and that's cool. But you know, there's only so many avenues you can go down, or there's only so much you can do in that space before you'll hit a, you know, you'll hit a ceiling, and then it's just
Yeah,
like, well, what next?
yeah,
The only options really are either you go and open up a facility for yourself and you try to impact more people. Maybe you move into an educational role where you try to impact more people, or you go online where again there's no cap on, you know, the amount of impact that you can have
yeah.
in any of those three things. So it's like
Yeah.
you just make a decision at that point. Um, what were some of the obstacles that you experienced in the transition? So moving from in person to online. So obviously I'm not an online coach, and it's never been something that I've dedicated my time to solely. Maybe during lockdown was the insight that I kind of got into that world. Uh, I'd imagine that, and again, I don't know if this was something that you dealt with, but even the guys that I coach who are online coaches, I still say to them, and you know what I'm like about this, I'm like, you make sure you have a fucking structure in place. You get up
Yeah.
at the same time every single day. I don't care if you don't have to be on the gym floor. Imagine you are. Was
Yeah.
that something that you initially struggled with, or was it something completely different?
Nah, mate, that was a massive
That was
one.
it.
I think
Yeah, yeah,
it was
yeah.
going from having structure, routine, designated work hours to having my own fucking freedom. You don't have to be in
Yeah,
work at a certain time. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, this could be a killer. Yeah.
Yeah, lad, literally. I sort of managed it quite well at the start though. Like I was trying to get up obviously the same time each day, but like at the very start when I very first went online again, like I had no fucking idea how to run a business. Do you know what I mean? I'd never worked on my own before. All I was doing prior to that for the past 3 years was going into the gym, coaching clients, and then that was it, pretty much. Do you know what I mean? So it was getting the structure, being able to organize my weeks properly. Do you know what I mean? And just making sure that it was designating specific time for specific things that I needed to do to run the business itself.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, definitely made time management was massive. I think it's something that I struggle with. It's probably only something, mate, that I've actually got good at, I would say, this past 3 or 4 months maybe. But like on the build up to that, it was just trial and error on a weekly basis. You know what I mean? Half the days it was fucking winging it.
What has been the what do you think has been the key to getting to managing your time a lot better online? Because it is different, you know, the fulfillment online is not the same as the fulfillment in person. The fulfillment in person, as you say, there's designated hours, whereas online, if you get all your work done on a Monday,
You have the week off.
now so what do you think has been the key to that improvement, if anything?
um, See, for me, mate, time blocking has been the biggest fucking help that I've ever done. And again, it's something that I've only really started utilizing properly this past couple of months. But like planning and preparation and organization was something that I've always struggled with my entire life. Whereas now,
Yeah.
like I know what my week's gonna look like before I even step inside that week. So like I'll plan everything out ahead of schedule. Like say client check-ins, for example, setting designated hours to manage like DMs and help people who are interested in the coaching, setting specific hours up for coming up with content ideas. And a separate day is making the content itself, and then another day time blocking out certain events for editing and stuff. So it's just making sure that I'm actually designating specific times for the specific things that I actually need to do in the business. Whereas like whenever I went out in April at the start, I was like, right, this is class. I've got my own freedom. I've got my own flexibility. But it was just waking up, and I was like, right, what the fuck do I need to do today? Do you know what I mean? And I was just winging it, mate, pretty much every day. It did work to a certain extent, but I wasn't getting the most out of it.
Yeah, of course, mate. So I'm curious here. So I've started posting on TikTok. I've been talked around it. Actually, I'll tell you what happened. So basically, we on every course, we usually do like a poll, you know, to see how people came onto the course. It's like, did you get an email? Did you see the ad? Were you referred by someone else? Was it organic content, whatever it is, or was it a mixture? You know, just to generally get a feel for what's working. And I usually say to students, put your hand up, it was this. And there was a wee guy on the course and he never put his hand up. And I was like, how did you end up on the course? And he was like, oh, I seen a video on TikTok. I was like, you're fucking shitting me. He's like, no. And I'm like, literally, you're the first person on this course to say that. And he's like, yeah, I seen a video on TikTok, and then it was connected to your Instagram, so I followed the Instagram and everything, and I was like, holy shit.
Madness.
What I've noticed as well is that a lot of, you know, let's say people who are 30 plus who come through the course come through Instagram, but now it turns out that 20-year-olds don't hang out on Instagram anymore, they hang out on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I noticed a couple of months back, I think I came across a few of your videos which seem to have gotten a lot of traction on that platform. Can you tell us a wee bit about
that? Right. So TikTok is something that I'd never used before, mate. I only started using it, I'd say a year and 3 months ago, maybe. I think it was like August 2021, right? Before that, I was dipping and dabbing with content, and like content is something that I fucking massively struggle with. Right. Like I remember back in the course you were trying to get me for a video by, and I was avoiding you at like all costs.
Did you do one while you were there?
No, mate, I never.
Motherfucker, you me a video.
I know, but that's it. Why, like, it was fear of being on the camera. I was fucking shit myself. I remember the first time I ever took a video, I was like sitting in my own room like this, and I was trembling, couldn't even speak or anything. A lot of shit in it, but I had actually I was following this guy on Instagram, and he was fucking blowing up on Instagram, blowing up on TikTok and stuff. And I dropped him a message. I was actually looking for a coach just for going through like a cut. And he's like, listen, I help with social media as well. And I was like, great, fuck, happy days. And he goes to me, right, I want you to download TikTok and I want you to make 5 TikToks this week. And I was like,
was it a local guy or who was he local?
Sean Casey, you call him. He's from Banbridge.
Oh yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
But yeah, I started making these TikToks anyway, mate, and they were absolutely dog shit at the start, as you can imagine. But just over time, sort of got better at it, sort of found my rhythm, looking at the algorithm and stuff for my analytics, sort of figured out what was working. And for me, like, it's mostly recipes that gets the most traction. So, just like 6 months, mate, I would say 6 or 7 months, I was posting consistently every single day, and like I was getting fuck all return on my investment. Like I wasn't getting any messages. Hardly anybody was liking my videos or my posts or anything, but like it just come down to consistency, and eventually one of them popped and gained like 20 or 30,000 followers in the space of a week or 2 weeks, and then everything just sort of fucking snowballed after that. Like,
such a crazy platform, dude. Like,
mad, yes, it is mad.
Like, again, I've only started using it recently, and people are fucking wild on there. Like, last week I was looking, because at a video it got some virality on TikTok there recently, and just
the personal development one.
Yeah, it was more towards that, but just some of, if I compare some of the, you know, the comments and stuff on Instagram, because on like Instagram world is all like lovey dovey, and you know, just
TikTok's brutal. Yeah.
TikTok is fucking. It is.
People are out to get you, like.
I love it. I fucking love it. I'm like, yes, unreal.
Yeah.
It's like the early days of Instagram. That's kind of what it's like. And you're right. The following, or the potential following, just fucking blows up. Like, I barely invested any time in it. It was like 400 followers on it in a week, and I'm just like, what the fuck? You know, compare that to Instagram. Like Instagram, lucky. you're lucky someone sees one video you post. So
Yeah, literally.
there's a big opportunity there, especially for trainers on that platform. And I would urge, especially online, guys, because I think, and again, this is just my own personal observation of it. Any of the online guys I coach, I'm like, get yourself on TikTok, be specific about who it is that you work for. And as you say, you posted for 6 months and didn't get nothing.
Nothing,
Next
mate.
thing you know, one of these videos just blow up and you end up with how many followers is on there now?
TikTok's actually slowed down now, which is weird. But like I
Yeah.
repurpose the content, so I'll post on TikTok, repurpose it to Instagram,
Yep.
repurpose it to Facebook, and then YouTube Shorts as well. YouTube sitting or TikTok sitting at like 43,000, I think.
Right.
Instagram of 104,000, which
Right.
just sort of migrated over from TikTok. But like Instagram Reels is blowing up at the minute as well. So like people
Uh,
are pushing TikToks, but they need to be getting on Instagram too. Like the potential to grow on Instagram at the minute is insane. There's a couple of guys I know that's blew up like 300,000 followers in the past 2 months, and like that's them fucking sorted for life. Do you know what I mean? They have that network
yeah.
there now.
Yeah. And I suppose you within that then, because again, I saw I had Daniel Dargan. I don't know if you know
I
Daniel.
do, yeah.
Yeah, so Daniel came through the course recently, maybe last year. And we were saying you don't need a massive following either. I just find it really, really interesting. I genuinely do. For me personally, and the business that I run, we don't need a massive following because, for example, we are geographically restricted. And I suppose just to flip back to what we were kind of talking about, we can run an ad in Northern Ireland and reach everyone.
Yeah.
But it would be pointless for us to go any further than that, because
There's
then
nothing
what has
better.
to happen is someone has to get a flight to fucking do
Yeah.
an e-course here. So we're geographically restricted.
Yeah.
So for someone who is, a brick and mortar business and an in-person business, it kind of, it doesn't really make sense to be focusing on trying to grow a massive following all around the world but for someone who has an online business, like the potential for growth there and the potential, of course, for impact is like insane because you're not geographically limited. Which I think is so cool, man. And I suppose like you've kind of found your sort of optimal selling strategy from that, as in, have you seen a rhythm to the way people come on board with you?
Sort of, mate. Yeah. Like I've been coaching like 4 years, 4.5 years now, right? And I've only recently sort of discovered who the specific niche of client is that I can actually help. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Which is
Interesting.
mad.
Who is it?
Women specifically, right? Like most of my following is middle-aged women who have yo-yo dieted for fucking years. So they've tried
Right.
everything, Slimming World, keto, Weight Watchers, all of that stuff. And like
Interesting.
they've always like overly restricted themselves and stuff, and they're looking for a more sustainable approach. So like that is the type of content that I make, and that's the type of people that I have constantly coming in through messages and stuff, because they can relate to me, I can sort of relate to them as well, and it's just works a lot better.
And is that mostly through Instagram, or is that also through TikTok? I would imagine that audience would come in through Instagram.
So TikTok would have been first. It blew up on TikTok, and then they would have migrated from TikTok to Instagram, and then you just sort of build that rapport and that connection through like TikTok's for like growing. I think they've actually changed the algorithm now where you can actually chat to people on TikTok, but you couldn't do that before. So you would build a following through TikTok, they would migrate over to Instagram, and then that's what you would sort of start the nurturing process, if that makes sense.
Got it. Yeah, I just find it so interesting. And obviously trying to understand it as best I can for the people that I coach. And it's interesting that you've attracted that type of sort of psychographic of person, which I would imagine for me that would like drive me nuts, dude. I was like, I'm done. I don't want the business. I'm done. And I'd imagine that you've learned a lot dealing with that type of person as well.
100%, mate, massively.
Yeah. What's next for you then?
So in terms of business, I am actually hoping to scale it a little bit this year and take staff on. Because I'm sort of at the point now where I'm at full capacity. I can't take anybody else on, but I've people still inquiring about coaching and stuff. So hopefully taking on a success coach at some stage this year. And then we are planning on moving to Australia in September as well. So just taking the business basically over with me, which is absolutely fucking mad to think of, mate, because 5 years ago, this was the dream that I had. Do you know what I mean? I never thought it was ever going to come to fucking fruition, but now
Love it.
shit's getting real. So
It's got goosebumps there listening to that. Unreal. Unreal.
mad, dude.
That's class. Proud of you, dude.
Cheers,
Awesome.
mate. Appreciate it.
I'll wrap it up here and I'll let you go. Before I do though, for anyone that wants to connect with you, where can they find you?
Ed Donald Fitness on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube Shorts or YouTube.
Nice. If there was one question that I should have asked but didn't, what would it be?
One question you should have asked me.
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't know, mate. You've put me on the spot now.
And is there something that I should have prompted you to share but didn't?
Don't think so, mate. I think we've sort of covered everything there that I've sort of needed to. One question probably, who would I recommend the course to, maybe? Because the fucking course itself changed my life, lad. And like I've told you that before on a number of occasions.
Yeah.
Only for getting into that course when I did, God knows what fucking state my life would have ended up in. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't even just the course, mate. It was a lifestyle change for me. Like it completely fucking changed everything. So anybody who is watching this who's on the fence about it, just get off the fucking fence and get it done.
Unreal, brother. Appreciate the time, mate. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thank you for coming on, taking the time. I'll let you go, brother.
See you later, man.
See you soon, mate. Bye.